All right, welcome to another episode of the Lost Arkuments podcast. Today is Monday, May 23rd. My name is Cyrus, and I'm joined once again by my co-host, Kioma. Kioma, how you doing today?
Pretty good. Pretty good. How about yourself?
I'm doing pretty well myself, man. We've had a pretty exciting weekend, and we'll get into that here pretty soon. Just a couple of things at the top. First of all, we are 1 week later than our normal podcast. It comes out every 2 weeks. Or we record it every 2 weeks. We skipped last week because for two reasons. Number one, we wanted to give everyone our first impressions of the Valtan patch. So we figured if we waited one extra week, we could give the whole patch a go and then give all of our thoughts on the patch, which we'll be doing today. And then the second reason is that Kioma, you, sir, went on a little vacation. How was that? Where'd you go? Tell us a little bit about that.
Sure, I guess. I went to Cancun, Mexico for a friend's wedding.
Yeah.
It was a beach wedding and it was amazing. I did a lot of nothing, just stayed on the beach a lot. It was
That
it was a
is
fun trip.
awesome. You get a lot of
Yeah.
sun?
Yeah, I did.
Nice,
You
nice,
don't
nice, nice.
you don't
That's
see it because I'm a gamer and
yeah,
I'm
right.
pale as fuck. But yeah,
That's awesome, man. Cancun, that sounds super, super
yeah.
fun. All right. One other thing here is if you're watching over on YouTube, and you'll notice that we got a really cool background here now. Amazon did a really cool thing about 2 weeks ago, I believe. They released the Lost Ark content creator kit. Pretty cool. They released basically a bunch of like background art and screenshots and like videos and a bunch of logos and stuff like that. Really cool of them to do that. So I thought that was pretty cool. I wanted to include one of those backgrounds here. And that leads me into if you are listening to this podcast via Apple, Spotify, or wherever podcasts are available, just know that you can come watch along on YouTube where you can see our beautiful faces as we talk about things here. And then if you are watching on YouTube, don't forget there is an audio version of the podcast if you want to go listen in the car or something on the way to work. We are up and running on all of the podcast platforms now. Pretty exciting. And then also here on YouTube. So pretty cool. All right. So last Thursday, May 19th, was the release of the long awaited Valtan patch, the first Legion raid. Now, this thing had been hyped up by the Korean player base and by the director himself as being this is basically where Lost Ark begins. Now, the director said, I mean, Smilegate came out and said, at the beginning of Lost Ark, hey, we want to get the Western client, the Western players, to the Legion raids as fast as possible because that is where the game really shines. That's where Lost Ark saw their player growth in Korea increase dramatically when the Legion raids started coming out. So this was kind of a milestone, I think, for Smilegate and for Amazon that they had kind of been building up to, and it finally came out last Thursday. And I personally am going to just say straight out major success. I mean, I thought it really, really delivered. Kioma, what were your kind of initial thoughts on the patch?
I feel like this is probably the best patch they could have released. It
Yeah.
brought a lot of hype into the game. The raids were I think were one of the biggest missing pieces from the game because let's be honest, Argos
Yeah,
is so easy
it
and
is.
it's just boring. So the fact that at least the hard mode and the regular mode and the hard mode is a good sign. And
Yeah.
patch with so many quality of life. So it was an amazing patch.
Yeah, so I'll
I
go
love.
through real quick. I'll list through all of the things that were in the patch, and then we can talk about them individually, or we can just go straight into kind of Valtan because I'm really curious to hear your thoughts on Valtan as we start talking about that. So this patch included. It's basically a patch for players at 14, 15, and higher. Like the whole patch is basically designed for endgame players. So there's new Chaos Dungeons at 14, 15, 1445, and 1475. There's the Descaluta Guardian. There's the Challenge Guardian raids. Valtan Raid, obviously normal and hard mode. They released a 1415 Ghost Ship. There's a new world boss, Thunder Wings, for 1460. Hard mode Chaos Lion at 1415. And then, in addition to all of that endgame stuff, we also got the full Korean the
Yeah. Oh yeah.
just recently released in Korea balancing patch.
Patch.
We got
Yes.
the Neria's wardrobe, we got new skin packs, we got this cool chicken event, and then on top of all of these things, They released an entire new class, by the way, a class that I haven't gotten to try it because I've been so focused on like the high end stuff that's been in the patch. But it's kind of funny. I'm feeling like it's a similar feeling to when I first hit level 50 when the game launched. In that there is so much to do. It's like exciting. I log on and I'm like, oh man, like what am I gonna check out today? And what am I gonna do? I sub all my dailies, all my characters. Should I hop into different raids? Should I try? There's still Argos to do as well. I mean, it feels like there's a ton of stuff to do at the top end, and I think it's great. I think the patch is much needed, and I think it brought a lot of life back into the game. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I agree. I went on about it a little earlier, but yes, all the new stuff to do. I mean, it's still more, but the new skins they released were great.
Yeah,
Some of them were great.
that narrative wardrobe
And
is pretty cool.
I thought there'd be more
I did
customizations.
too. I did too.
They did two pieces for top, and then two pieces for bottom, and then glasses. So
I
and a
confess,
hat.
I thought they were going to be different skins for like all the different classes, but it's
Yeah,
like the
but they're
same
the same
skins
skin.
for all. But I guess over time they've released quite a few of those kind of like casual skins to where people have people kind of praise it over in the Korean version as being a pretty cool thing, and this is kind of like just the start of it. So I think that was pretty cool.
Still not dyeable for some reason.
Yeah, I don't know.
That would have been so
Yeah,
cool.
that would have been cool.
But yeah,
Um,
the all the new stuff gives so much mats. And then you start gearing relic accessories, relic earrings, all that stuff. You want to get max min max a lot if you in the end game. So yeah, it was a lot to do. I don't play as many characters as you, so I only had like one that I can really do. But it was good. It was a good patch. A lot of
yeah.
content.
Have you tried out the Destroyer class at all yet?
I did not. They did not give out a Vern. They did not give out a pass.
Yeah.
So I have not leveled one up yet.
So I still have the Fate and Power Pass from before because I just used the Express Pass for my Glavier. So once I get around to it, once I get some time again, it's been kind of a kind of a crazy weekend here with the new patch, and then I was at a wedding yesterday.
Hmm.
But once I get a chance, I do want to try out Destroyer, and I have that Fate and Pass sitting there specifically because I wanted to try that class out. So we'll have more thoughts on Destroyer maybe in the future.
Yeah, yeah.
All right,
I've seen some crazy numbers on it, but I think those are like bloated. But I'm not sure. I saw some like 96 million, 96 billion or something.
yeah, you can.
Damn
The Korean players they've done that with Berserker as well, and I think
Oh.
Sorceress as well, where they've basically like fully juiced up a class as high as you possibly can and gotten every single buff in the entire game, and then they walk in and like one shot like major bosses and stuff like that. Yeah, it's pretty wild. Okay, let's get straight into the main feature of the patch here, and that is the Valtan raid. Now, you and I both did the hard mode version of the raid over the weekend, correct? You didn't try normal mode?
I did not touch normal mode at all.
Okay, neither did
I
I.
don't know how that works. If you do normal, you can't do hard, right?
Correct. If you do normal, you
Okay.
can't do hard. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so I've only done hard. I've cleared gate 1 and I've gotten to ghost phase gate 2, but I was concentrating on my Sork yesterday instead of doing the raid, so I was trying to finish the express power pass to get the rewards to try to get my last 12th awakening for my lost
Lost
wins.
Wind Cliff. Yeah.
Apparently it's time gated by dungeons now, so I have to wait 3 days for that. So
Yeah.
so yeah, I'm gonna try it later tonight or tomorrow. But I know you've cleared it. So
Yeah.
how did you find your experience with it?
So my experience, I really liked it. So the day that the raid came out, I just straight hopped into the group finder because I actually wanted to do it that way because I didn't want to just find a pre-made group and like steamroll through the thing because I was afraid that that's what it was going to be. I was afraid that it was going to be too easy beforehand, and it turned out to not be the case. So I think even if you have a pre-made group, this is still a very challenging raid, and there is definitely a learning curve to it. So even if you have a pre-made group, it'll take you some work to get through it. So anyway, I hopped into just kind of the first group that I could find that seemed like it was a decently balanced group. It took us about an hour and a half to clear the first boss. And I got the impression with that first group that this was not going to be my Valtan clear group, let's just say. But I did know that that there was the gates. So once we cleared the first boss, we tried a couple pulls on the second boss, but by that time, I think the group had kind of just like lost its I don't know, will to continue going. So I hopped into another group later in the evening, a couple hours later, and we did Valtan for about 3 hours, and we got Valtan down to like the uh the the last human version, or the last like mortal version of him, which is like the 30 bars to 15 life bars. So we were, trying to learn all of the mechanics and kind of like learn the fight as it goes. And then the next day, so that was the first day. So then the next day, I got a few more attempts in. I think I tried for another 2 or 3 hours, and we got to the ghost phase. And this was with a different group of people, and we were like in Discord and everything. So it was like a guild group that had like 4 or 5 or 6 members, and then they just like pugged the last couple, and I was in that. We were on Discord, and then we repeatedly got to the ghost phase in that group. So we had probably 5 or 6 pulls where we got to the ghost phase. The problem was we'd only have like 2 or 3 people up, and it never seemed like we had enough sort of like left in us before the enrage would hit. And one thing that I did notice from that group too is we had 2 supports and 2 gun lancers. And I think the result of that is we just actually didn't have enough DPS to like push through some of the troubling parts of the fight. Like I really feel like from 30 life bars down to 15 life bars, like you really have to push the DPS, because you want that to be as quick as possible, because it's by far the most deadly part of the fight. So since we had 2 supports and 2 gun lancers, our damage was a little low, so we kept losing people in that phase. So after Friday, though, I was like, okay, I know that I know the fight well enough. It's just a matter of like, I need to find other players who know the fight well enough. So I woke up Saturday morning early. I was super excited, and our server was down. And we'll get into this, because as good as this patch is, we once again, unfortunately, need to talk about the situation around not just our server, but the entire like North American West data center.
Yeah.
But we'll get into that a little bit. So I hop on in the morning. The server is down. 3 hours later, I'm ready to go, and they announce another update. Hey, it's going to be 4 more hours of down. I mean, it's just like crazy amounts of downtime. So that all ends, and then I try and log in, and there's a queue because the bots are already getting back into the game, which is another problem. We had queues all weekend. But anyway, I finally get in on Saturday, and basically as soon as the server came up, I looked for groups, because I figured that there would be kind of a similar situation where there maybe was like a pre-made group that needed like 1 or 2 more people. So I was able to find a group that had, they said like in the title, Ghost Progress. So I knew that it was players who had like already done the encounter a bit and learned the encounter. So I hopped in with them, and these guys were like ready to go, fully geared out. We didn't use Discord, which I thought was interesting, is that when we actually cleared the raid, we weren't on Discord. So I don't know that it's necessary, which is going to lead me kind of into another thing about the Valtan raid that's pretty cool. And that is, there is so much personal responsibility and accountability in this fight, where I don't even actually think that you need supports, because you don't take.
It makes life a lot easier.
It does, but I didn't use a single potion in the run that we cleared. I didn't use a single potion the whole time. I mean, the fight ended and I had 7 potions. So it's like, my point was,
you have the support.
The supports are healing, but what I'm saying is, did they heal me 7 healing potions worth of healing during the fight? Or is it a matter of, if you learn the fight well enough and you avoid enough of the mechanics, you just don't take very much damage? So anyways, long story short, we got him down, had all the nerd screams. I mean, my girlfriend heard me downstairs. She's like, what in the heck is going on? And I was like, oh, we got him. You know, it was like one of those MMO exciting moments that kind of took me back to like the WoW days, when we were like doing prog on like going for like server first and stuff. Like this is like way back in like 2005, 2006. So pretty fun to kind of like relive one of those really exciting, MMO RPG moments where you like down the boss and like everybody gets all excited. I think that Valtan is just, it's such a fun raid. It was so hyped up by the Korean community, and I really feel like it delivered. So before I get too much more into it, like tell me how your progress has been, and like what have your groups been like?
So I didn't get 1445 until Friday.
I think it was either Thursday night or Friday. Yeah.
Friday, I think I got a Friday, Thursday night, but I wasn't gonna go into it until the next day. So Friday morning, that's when all the good people and supports have already cleared. So Party Finder was just all only looking. This is another big problem with the game. I think no one wants to play support.
Yeah.
It's always every group was like looking for two supports or a gun lancer, and my prog for was mostly just 8 DPS doing it. And let me tell you, it is a lot easy. I almost cleared on 8 DPS runs, like a couple times. But when I joined a party that had 2 supports, oh my god, it was so easy. Um, we lived through everything. I barely had to use potions. The run was smooth. So I think 2 supports really helps for that one.
Yeah.
Maybe you take a lot less damage in phase 2. Which I think is true actually. Now I've phase 2 to ghost phase. You don't take much damage, and if the damage you do take
It's
can just kill
lethal.
you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
if
what
you get hit by something, you just die. So
that's what we
if you get like
noticed
knocked
too.
off
It's
the
like
arena,
most people would die from getting knocked off. Like it really
yeah.
wasn't mechanics that were killing us. It would be something
Mhm.
like we'd miss the counter at 65 life bars and he just would kill everybody
Right,
immediately.
right,
Or
right, right, right.
it was things like it was either basically white mechanics or it was getting kicked off the edge. And that's why I was
Yeah,
like, I feel like in the coming weeks, as more and more people clear this thing and we start doing re-clears, I think you'll see a lot more parties not really being like, hey, we must have 2 supports, because if you know the fight well enough, like I said, you just don't take very many hits. Like it's
yeah.
either you're knocked off and you die, or you can
Right.
heal through whatever damage you're taking because it's not that much damage, you know?
Yeah, phase 1 had a lot more damage because his
Agreed.
attacks were so random, and
Agreed.
the bleed stacks and all that fun stuff. But yeah, I finding phase 2 is fun. I like the first phase is fun. You have to do stuff as a group. You have the bait stuff. The second phase, sorry, it's fine. Just I mean, it's counters, so that's all your responsibility is, and dodging those little arrows. Quadrant behind rocks.
Yeah.
Um, I don't find that you just have to dodge stuff, I guess. So I've been having fun with it. Like I said, I got into ghost phase. We just have too many people down when that happens. Just don't have the DPS
Were
for it.
you guys
I love that
doing, were the parties that you were in, were you using
waste
the
trap.
sidereals for,
Oh,
yeah, to kind of cheese through some of the difficult mechanics? Like
they
in
were, yeah.
in phase 2, yeah, my party was doing that too. We would use Balthor at the end
Yes.
of before he breaks the arena apart. We would use Balthor to make sure we didn't get hit by that big one shot mechanic, because I guess you're supposed to pick up those blue orbs and then
Blue
like
balls,
try
yes.
and dodge some damage, but we would just drop Balthor and then kind of cheese through that one shot mechanic. And then also at 15 bars, right before you go into ghost phase, he does that like
Yeah, yeah.
crazy pattern of like 4 attacks in a row and they can all knock you off. And the parties that I were in, we would drop Balthor there and just sort of like try
Yeah,
not to
ignore
take
it.
too many hits, but you weren't worried about the knockback mechanics knocking you off. Were your parties the same way?
Yes, yes.
And then,
I feel like if you do the first phase, you can save it for you can don't have the Balthor because it's pretty easy to dodge.
yeah,
But you have to you have to knock all four eight pa- or all 4 patterns or
yeah,
towers with the balls. You have to do that or else you just white. Well, people will die.
yeah,
So if your group's good, you can just use your Thyrane, just do the damage part.
yeah.
And save, and I don't not save, but use it instead of Balthor, which it's easy, pretty easy. But I guess if you want to be super safe and not worry about it, just Balthor, which is what we did.
Yeah, I think
And I don't,
again, after doing the fight, like once you learn the mechanics, it really doesn't become so much a DPS race. It's almost like
Mhm.
when we were getting to the pulls right before we cleared, I mean, we had everybody up every single time down to 30 life bars. And it was going quick. It's just once you hit 30 life bars and that arena becomes that tiny little
yeah,
platform and then he starts doing his attacks, I mean, people just inevitably get knocked off. It's like you have to know every one of his attacks, because
mm,
if you look at what he's doing, you're like, oh, I don't remember which mechanic this is, like boom, and then you're off the side. So it's like you really, it's there is like personal accountability to knowing the fight through and through, and then not getting knocked off is ultimately what makes the fight so difficult.
exactly. There's some counter mechanics which are not too bad. I watched videos and I read it, and it seemed like harder than it actually was.
Yeah, I
So
agree. Well, actually,
yeah.
the counter mechanic at 65, like the the timing on that is
Yeah, that was. Oh, that
insanely tight.
I meant during the ghost phase.
But during the ghost phase, yeah, not
Yeah.
too bad. And we had, I mean, when I was progging with the group that I was progging with, we got to ghost phase, and I think we either had 6 or 7 people up on the one that we cleared. And if you have that many people up, the counters are like a non-issue because you just have so many bodies like trying to do the counters that it's just not very difficult. But man, if you have like 2 or 3 people up and you're scrambling to try and like DPS him before he goes into berserk, that's when like the panic starts to set in, and like you start to get like that, like the gamer sweats, you know, and you like each counter that comes out, you're like, oh God, don't do it too early or too late. You know, it's like pretty intense. But we found that our clear attempt, I mean, pretty much everybody was alive right at the very end, because if everybody stays alive when you get into ghost phase, it's not too bad.
And Tyrion does like 10 bars.
He does like 10 bars. Yeah, exactly. Pretty fun. Yeah, just my kind of closing thoughts on the Valtan raid itself, so that we can kind of get into some other stuff here, because I don't want to just talk about Valtan the entire time. My closing thoughts are, the fight is incredibly well tuned for where we're at item level. I never felt like, even when I was with people, I mean, I'm slightly over geared. I mean, my character is about 1460, which isn't too much higher than 1445 as far as like the power spike goes. And the people that I were in, I mean, everybody had like 4x3 engravings. Everybody had like good gems. Everybody had, you know, I think everybody had the Lost Wind Cliff card set. Everybody had pretty leveled up gear, and at no time did I feel like, oh, we're over geared for this fight. Like, it is challenging where we are at, and like it's like so challenging that that sometimes you feel like, oh, this fight is overtuned, which is exactly, in my opinion, like where it should be. Like, it should feel like this is too difficult. Like, that's where the line should be. And I love that Lost Ark is giving us content that is at that level where you're like, man, can we even do this? That's what makes raiding fun, where it's almost like you're doing the impossible in some sense, and that's what makes it feel so accomplished when you finally get that kill. How do you feel about that? Am I wrong there?
I mean, it's very hard compared. Like, it's really, really difficult compared to the content we already have in game.
Yeah.
As for like MMO difficulty, I don't want to say sound like elitist or anything, but it doesn't. It's not too difficult. It's like it's just hard enough for a group to mess up a lot, but clearable by anyone really. A lot of the mechanics in the raids are just like are mechanics you know from other MMOs, but a little bit different. Like, not as I don't know. Like, some of the ultimate raids in Final Fantasy are like the high end stuff. They have a lot of these mechanics, but they're faster and they're more difficult. But this one,
you have to remember, this isn't this isn't
like
the equivalent of, you know, mythic rating in WoW and ultimate rating in Final Fantasy. This is considered one tier below that. When we get hell mode, that's what's considered to be, you know, equivalent to those things where it's like you spend, you know, potentially weeks wiping on the content and learning it to where it's like absolutely like the back of your hand. So that is coming, I think, when we get hell mode. But as far as MMO difficulty for high-end raids, this definitely doesn't feel too easy. I think that's kind of what I was getting at.
It's not too easy. No, it's like it's a step above Argos, which is good.
For sure.
So like this is like early Savages in Final Fantasy 14.
Yeah,
like the first few are Savages, which is good spot for it.
I did the Savages. I did some of the early like level 50 Savages. I think I did them with you actually. And obviously everyone's overgeared, and everyone knows the fights so well by now. But it's equalized. And when we did them together, I remember being like, oh, this is actually challenging. Like, even though everybody knows the fights and has done them a bunch, everything feels really tight in that fight. I remember the Titan one especially. Actually, Titan is similar to Valtan in some senses, because you would get knocked off the side of the thing and die.
You're talking about Extreme Trials. Okay, got it.
Oh, is that what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
But that felt tight. It felt well tuned. It felt like, oh, this is like actually difficult content.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, to bring it back to Lost Ark, I think the patch itself is a huge success. I like that there's so much to do. I like that the raid is as challenging as it is. I like that we got the Korean balance patch only a few weeks after it came out in Korea. I think that's an excellent
Oh,
sign
that's
for the
such
future
a
of the
good change.
game.
I love it. Yes,
And then we
yes.
didn't even get to another thing that I really wanted to talk about, which is some of the quality of life changes to the game. I mean, it's so much better. Like using the auction house is so much better. Like when you just searching for like accessories and things, and like you can switch between categories so much easier, and like there's more options for searching for gear, and like just overall it's so much better to use. And there's like the damage indicators for the front and back of a monster, which is just great. And there's like windows that let you queue up for dungeons anywhere.
That's
And
that's my favorite. I
that
was
thing
going to
is
mention
so
that. That is
cool.
my favorite. Alt Q. I know it now.
Alt Q,
Alt
man,
Q.
it's
Alt Q.
so good. It's like just
So good.
another
You can
thing
say
that's so
I don't
good.
have to go to a main city just to do dungeon and then go back to
Exactly.
whatever I was doing. It's so much better. I was
I
camping
love it.
the Chicken Wing Island and just doing dungeons
Yeah.
and robs from there, and it was so good. And they can the event is so generous. You don't because it's not time gated
Oh,
like the Naruni event.
I haven't done the event really
Have-
yet.
You can farm the chicken every hour and it gives 900 tokens.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So you can like farm for a week and don't worry about it the rest of the time.
Oh, yeah,
And
nice.
you get the same rewards as the Nurin event. It's literally the
Oh,
same
okay.
thing. Um, so yeah, and Chaos Line hard mode in Southern gives a lot of rewards as well.
Yeah.
So a lot more stuff, a lot more mats have come into the game, which
Yeah,
is
no,
great.
I totally
Really good
agree.
things.
I liked Chaos Line hard mode. I still haven't got my Omnium star yet, but
I
apparently,
did. I was
oh, you
lucky.
did. Oh, congratulations.
I
That
have all of them.
I guess that's actually one of the things that people complained about the most was the drop rate for normal mode was so low that they were like, okay, we're gonna actually buff it quite a bit when hard mode comes out, so that people can actually
Oh,
get
was
this
it?
thing. Yeah, yeah.
I thought I got lucky, but but I got it,
I mean,
so
you
it's
still
good. I
got lucky
lost.
because I haven't gotten it yet. So
Yeah.
that's all 7 for you, right?
It's all 7.
Yeah, that's
I
pretty
have
cool.
the protection, full
And then
protection.
I was gonna say the one quality of life thing that I like the most because I have 6 characters, all in T3 now, and there is when you like do the character select thing in game, you like hit escape and then you click switch characters. There's a little menu that appears on the right now, and you can customize it, and it shows
Yeah, I
you like
haven't used it.
how much rest you have for each of the activities. It shows you how many Una dailies you've done, how many you have left to do, chaos dungeons, guardian raids, and then like raid info down below. It's like it's such a quick thing because I can't ever remember, oh, which character has rest that I want to do X thing on. Instead of having to log into each character over and over and over to find out, you can just kind of get at a quick glance like what you have to do on which characters. I love that. It's like my favorite quality of life adjustment probably.
I assume that's really good for a lot of people with ults. But
It's so awesome. It's so good. Yeah.
I
Um
I know what my ults lie.
yeah, so I will say kind of to move on just a little bit but not too far from where we're at. I wanted to say about Amazon did a pretty good job of communicating what was coming with this patch before the patch launched, and I
Yeah,
definitely wanted to at least bring that up and kind of get your thoughts on that too, because um, they like 2 weeks before the patch they gave us the release date, which was great. It wasn't like the Argos thing, like day before. Oh, hey, by the way, you're getting Argos tomorrow. It's like couple weeks in advance they said like, hey, this is the release date, this is what's coming. We got the patch notes like 4 or 5 days early. They put up like a couple YouTube videos, they put up some
oh, I didn't
posts
see
on
those.
Twitter. Yeah, I mean they were actually kind of hyping this thing up. They did the Twitch drop, which is good because like I said before, why wouldn't you do Twitch drops? Like
Yeah,
Amazon
it's hype.
owns Twitch. Like, of course, if there's a major patch, do a Twitch drop. So did you get any sense that you felt like Amazon was communicating this patch well, or do you feel like they still could have done more?
No, I think they did this rollout really well. People love Prepatch Notes to prepare
Yeah.
things, so I think they've taken player feedback. People want to know when something's coming out so they can set time aside, build, uh, get ready, get your characters ready for that stuff like that. So that's always a good thing. Everyone loves pre-patch notes,
For sure.
so yeah, I agree. It's a good change from what they've been doing. So I'll give them props.
Okay, so we gave props to Amazon, so nobody can say that we're going to go too hard on them here, because we did say that they did some decent communication. But unfortunately, we have to bring up the still elephant in the room once again, and that is the if there's one thing that's going to kill this game, truly, I honest to God mean that, it is them not getting a handle on this bot situation. It is absolutely plaguing this game. I mean, I don't know how it is on NA East because I don't have any
Yeah.
characters over there. You and I both play
Apparently,
on NA
my
West.
friend, some of my friends play on NA East, and they're like, "What's happening on NA West? There's no queue. There's barely any queues. The servers are never down like they are for Mari or for NA
Yeah.
West. I don't understand it."
Yeah, the situation, I mean, for people who aren't on NA West, NA West is crippled right now with bots and server stability issues. We had, when the patch launched, we had our server, Mari server, down 4 separate times in the first 3 days due to server instability problems. And over the weekend, only a couple days after the patch, we've had queues up to up to or near 10,000 already. And it's full of bots, and the bots don't log off. So that 5,000, 10,000 person queue does not go slowly because those players are not logging off. So the server is absolutely packed full of bots. Real players can't get on. It's affecting the economy because the price of blue crystals continues to go up as players RMT instead of buying gold through the Amazon shop. I don't even know like what to say at this point. I mean, Amazon came out and said things like two-factor authentication and CAPTCHA were not in the Korean version because the Korean version never had a problem with bots like this. So it would take
Because they require a social
because
security
they
number.
require the KSSN. So they can't just add those things in quickly. There would be some significant infrastructure to do to accommodate something like that. And I respect that. I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
listen,
I understand that.
my day job is, I was a senior engineer or a senior software developer for about 10 years, and now I'm in project management. So like I understand a lot of those challenges technically to doing things like what they're trying to accomplish, and I hear that. But at the same time, how would you not have seen this coming with the game being free to play? I mean, so many other free to play games struggle with bots. It's like it was so obvious that this was going to be a problem, and to not build any tooling to deal with bots before the game launched, and to not have that be a focus once it was obvious that this was going to be a problem is a huge drop of the ball, in my opinion, from Amazon. I mean,
I understand their problem because it's a free to play and they don't do two factor, which is just bot central, right? And it's so easy to farm gold for as a low level bot because you can just
yeah.
sell math so easily. That's why there's so many of them. Yeah, I would. Like I said, I'm a fan of two factor authentication, but like I said, it'll pretty take a little time for them to do it. But otherwise, I don't know how they would combat it. That's literally the only thing I can think of.
So there's a couple things that I've sort of been mulling around. I want to get your thoughts on them too, because they might just be me being just an idiot, and they might be things that like are actually legitimate. So here are like the two things that I've recently sort of been thinking about. One of them is when they do a massive bot ban wave,
Mm-hmm.
they should, in my opinion, close the servers to create new characters after the bot wave,
Oh.
the ban has done for X amount of time at least. And they have got to do a better job of preventing bots from creating characters once they reopen the servers for character creation. I don't know exactly how you would manage that, but I do think, in other words, slow the amount of bots that are coming into the servers should be at least the first way of dealing with the bots, instead of just having it be open field. They ban all these bots, but they open the server back up, and boom, the bot farms go back up to creating tens of thousands of characters and plaguing these servers. Like, there's got to be a way at least to like put a tourniquet on like the gaping, gushing wound of the bots just pouring in as soon as the server opens. And then the other thing that was thinking about is like, I know that this game is free to play, right?
Yep.
But how far into a game's launch, a free to play game's launch, does it make sense to begin to charge for entry if bots are going to be this much of an issue? And here's the way that I was thinking about it.
Are you talking about subscription?
No, I'm not talking about a subscription. I'm talking about a one-time fee to create your first character. But you don't have it be a one-time fee. What you do is you have it be sort of like the founders packs. In other words, you juice up, you have it cost, let's say, $5 to play Lost Ark, okay? But you juice up that $5 to make it worth way more than $5 is actually worth in the game, right? Like, let's say $5 gets you, I don't know what the numbers are, but let's say $5 gets you 1,000 gold worth of stuff in the game. So what if when you first log in and create your account, sort of, it costs you $5, but instead of getting $1,000 worth of stuff, like items, bound items, let's say, so you can't just like be a bot and like turn around and sell that stuff, but you make it all bound. But instead of it being 1,000 gold worth of items, you make it like 50,000 gold worth of items. So it's like a one-time $5 gets you in, and you get juiced up for those $5. But if there is any sort of monetary barrier of entry, the bot problem completely goes away. And it's like you have given everybody essentially a free trial for the first 3 months of this game. And then you say like, listen, we've given everybody this free 3-month trial to play the game, and now we are going to require, some sort of barrier of entry for new players to come in as a means of combating this bot problem.
I get it. I get what you're saying. I think it'll help for the immediate, but I think once people figure out, the bot creators figure out that it's probably just worth it, because they can also boost their own character, right? Their own bots to whatever they need to get.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a long-term solution, and people will be super upset.
Here's why I think it is a long-term solution, though, is because you're still not going to stop banning bots whenever you see them. And what they would do is, like, let's say it costs you $5 to hop in for a player, and a normal player plays for 2 years or something like that. And it's like $5 one time to play for 2 years. Not a big deal. But if you're making 10,000 bots, it now costs you $50,000 to make those 10,000 bots. And then Amazon could turn around and ban all of them in 1 week. And you'd have to spend another $50,000 to get your bots back in the game. I just think if you are continuing to battle bots and then you make a barrier of entry to get in, I think long term it's good enough. I think the game has, especially with the Valtan raid being so good, and the Korean players have talked about, it just gets better from here, right? Like the raids and the content that's coming, it gets better and better and better. Lost Ark has a very positive reputation, not just in Korea now, but basically anywhere. And I think it might be worth it to spend some of that positive, whatever you want to call it, by saying, again, like, listen, the game is free to play, and we're going to require a one-time purchase and you make it low, by the way, you make it like a $5 purchase, a $5 purchase to get in, or you close servers to new players and you say, we'll create new servers, and those can be free to play, and you might have to deal with some bots on those servers. But the servers that came out at launch, if you want to create a new account to create characters on these servers, it's going to cost you $5 to verify your account or whatever it is, and then you get this huge amount of resources when you first come into the game that'll have you be set for like a long time.
I get it. I'm just looking at it perspective from like the average free-to-play player. People will not like that change, and it'll get a lot of people mad. And
what if you were to
what I'm saying.
What if you were to announce that it's coming, for example, and you say like, listen, a month from now, if you don't already have an account, it's going to cost you money in a month, because then nobody can really get upset. It's like, if you are anybody anywhere who might have any interest in playing this game, get in now and create your account.
You would be surprised at how passionate people get over anything that costs anything.
Yeah, I mean, I've been on
Um,
the official forums. I've seen how crazy a lot of the Lost Ark community is. Don't get
I'm
me
just trying to say
wrong,
it
but
from those guys. Maybe they will get upset. I'm okay with it because, like I said, we're playing 2 years. Like we're playing a while now. So it wouldn't affect me much. But I'm just thinking, average player, new players coming into the game, it'll 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 upset people. I'm not sure if it'll outweigh the good, the bad. I don't know. Um, well, I don't know. I think just two-factor authentication is just the way to go. But like I said, it takes some time to do that.
yeah, I mean, at a minimum, there should be something like captchas or two-factor authentication. In my mind, there's got to be something to prevent it because, like I said, it's the single thing that, in my opinion, is going to ruin the long-term health of this game. I mean, it's it's such a problem right now, and it doesn't seem. I mean, they keep banning the bots, and that's great. And then a new patch comes out, and the first couple of days are just amazing. I mean, you go to Vern, and there's no bots standing by the
Right.
Chaos Dungeon. You know, you go do your rapports or your Una tasks on the first continent, you know, like those first four continents in like East Lutera, West Lutera. Like you go through those and you don't see any bots there. You don't see any characters there. You don't. It's so refreshing to not see any of that. The economy actually recovers for like a couple days after the patch, but then they inevitably return and the queues show up and the server stability issues happen and the price of blue crystals rises. Man, it's just something's got to be done from the way I see it.
I agree. I agree. I just don't know what the best approach is. So
Yeah.
hopefully they'll figure it out.
Hopefully they do.
All right.
All right. Okay, we'll move on to something else here. We're gonna go from frustrating to straight up sad real quick. But I would be remiss if I didn't bring it up here because it's such a big topic for Lost Ark. Not just in the West,
Oh,
but also in Korea, really. And that is between episode 4 and episode 5 today, there was an announcement from the director, Mr. Kum Kong-sun, that he is retiring from his position as director of Lost Ark. And real quick to sort of, for people who may not know and may not be super familiar with the Korean version, this man, the current director, has been the director of the Lost Ark for 10 years. So he is the one who
but
has
the game hasn't been out that long, has it?
correct. Well, development takes,
Oh, okay.
5 or 6
I was like,
years, and he
wait a
was
second.
yeah, no, he was the director through all of development before the game actually released, and then he has been the director since. And a lot of people, I mean, not even a lot of people, like the vast majority of Korean players credit the success of Lost Ark to this director. And he has been incredibly outspoken about the game. One of the things that the Korean community has said is so good about this guy is that he admits when they make mistakes. I mean, he'll admit when something is not good in the game. He'll just come out and be like, "Yeah, we need to fix it," and then he will hop on live to take questions from the Korean community, and he'll answer things like as they go. And having a face for a game, I think, is so important. And he has been the face of Lost Ark. And you know, the equivalent that immediately jumps out to Western players and Japanese players is Final Fantasy 14 with Yoshi P. I mean, having somebody be a face like that who's going to come out and be the one to appear at, I can't remember, it's called Loa On, the convention in Lost Ark. What is it called in Final Fantasy 14 again? I'm sorry, the
The
yearly
live letters? Oh, FanFest.
FanFest, the FanFest. Having a face for FanFest and having
Yeah,
a face
people
for
love
Loa On,
FanFest. I
people
love.
love that. I mean, it instills such confidence in a game when the director, you're seeing him and you're seeing them react and answer questions, and it goes such a long way for the game. So I,
In
I
Yoshi P's case, he comes in cosplay sometimes and
so
for
does
like the new job stuff. It's so cool. I love it.
so
I
does
love him.
this director. He does the same thing. He showed up in a big
Okay.
Makoko suit one time for Loa On. Apparently, I saw a video of it. It's pretty funny. So yeah, really sad that he's leaving. The Korean community is pretty upset through and through, and I think for
It-
good reason because he.
It's for so people don't
Oh
don't.
yeah,
It's
sorry.
for
Go
health
ahead.
reasons. It's not like he was doing a bad job or anything
Correct.
like that.
Correct.
People are upset. it's because of his health,
Yeah, he did not get a new
which is
job.
fair.
Yeah,
Hmm.
he did not get a new job at another company or anything like that. He is retiring because of his health. I mean, that's what he has said, which makes it like even more sad. I think the last update in Korea, the Elgatia update, which I guess kind of sort of bookends the story of Lost Ark from the beginning up until now. It sort of completes the first like chapter of the story. And he said that he's been ill since about last summer, but he wanted to stay on to see the sort of the completion of that patch and sort of the completion of the story of the game, which is pretty cool. So all of that said, I did want to talk about kind of what this means for Lost Ark. I think because of his health and because it's not like he's going to a competitor and going to another game company, it would seem to me that it would be logical that whoever the new director is someone that is currently working as the director now, right? Like it would make sense to me that they would be like, okay, you're going to be sort of co-director with the current director, and we're going to have you guys work together for sort of a long period of time to bring somebody up to speed, which is a
Hmm.
good thing. He's not just going, hey, I got a new job, I'm out of here. You guys need to figure something out. Peace, I'm gone, right? So
Yep.
in some senses, this is like the best case scenario for changing directors is that he's not leaving on bad terms. Another thing that I learned is that I guess the director and the owner of Smilegate are very good friends and have been good friends for a long time. And the ownership is not changing, too. So it's not like we all of a sudden have new ownership that's going to come in and say, hey, the game's not making enough money. We need to add a bunch of pay to win stuff and make more money. And we got shareholders that we need to, make sure that are happy in this quarter and next quarter. And so we're driving up prices. And it's nothing like that, right? So I
Yep.
think some of the things that are good is that I don't think we're going to see like a huge monetary change at all in the way Lost Ark, behaves and operates because ownership is staying the same. And then it would seem probable to me that the whoever the new director is probably basically already working as the director to make the transition as smooth as possible. I think that's a pretty safe assumption, and I think that's a pretty good thing.
Yeah.
Do you agree? Do you think I'm wrong on
Of
any of
course.
that?
No, I think it's great. Promoting from within is also good because people share the same people on the same team, so they know
Yeah,
how what players like, what
right.
people players don't like, instead of just like money.
I
Like when someone buys something, you want to see the bottom line, like you said. So I agree, that's a good thing. Um, I like I said, I don't personally know anything about the guy, but if he's leaving for health reasons, that's totally valid, and I understand it.
Yeah,
So hopefully he trains his successor to be just like him, or even better. You
yeah.
never know.
Well, that
So
kind
that's
of
good.
leads me. That's like the perfect transition to kind of what I wanted to talk about is sort of like what makes a good director, right? And like
Mhm.
and instead of having this be just like a horribly sad thing, like let's try and be optimistic and think of like, well, what could this mean that would be like even better for the future of the game? And the first thing that jumps out to me is I don't know how good the current director's English is, but I do know that he had a translator when he appeared. Basically, the one time that he appeared for the Western launch, he did have a translator alongside him. So I personally, I'm really hoping that the new director speaks English. And I know that's probably selfish, but my hope is that we have a director that can communicate not just with the Korean community, but can also communicate with the global community. Yeah, I mean, do you?
That's a fair ask.
Yeah,
Yeah, like I said. Well, I guess translators are okay because, like I said, Yoshi P. I think Yoshi P understands English, but he's
yeah.
just not confident saying it. That's why he always has translators. But when people talk to him, he understands, which is always a good thing. But I think translators are okay as long as they're good translators, and people know the disconnect between translating and source language. I think that's fine. I don't need someone who speaks English, but it'd be nice. Like I said, it would be very, very nice. But I mean, it's hard to do, right? Because people they live in Korea, so they speak Korean.
Yeah, no, and
Uh,
that's totally fair. I think a lot of Koreans do learn English, though, is my
yeah, they do.
understanding. And so, hey man, if I can ask for anything, just like sure, why not? Maybe it's possible that the new director speaks English and wants to communicate with the Western version community, and man, that would be awesome. Like that would be
It,
great, man.
it's a fair ask. I'll go with that.
I would take it even one step further is like I'm hoping that the new director is someone that's more committed to the Western version of the game. And in other words, I hope they take a more active role in promoting the Western client and sort of having that be a more important focus for Smilegate. I don't know how much of a focus it was for the current director, but I can always hope for more, right? So like hopefully
Yeah.
the new director can come in and like be even more pro Western client, and hopefully, like I've been saying in all 5 episodes up till now, I'm hoping that that means trying to do some sort of unification of all of the different versions of the game and having us be on, this content patch wise, having us all be in the same place and having us get new classes all at the same time and new skins all at the same time. I mean, I'm hoping that some of like there's like there's like design competitions for skins like just in Korea. Like why maybe a new director comes along and says, "Hey, why don't we open that up to all of the regions?" Right? Like
Yep.
there's
Yeah.
plenty of artists, in the US and in South America and in Europe that would probably be interested in designing skins. Like some of those things, maybe if it's a bigger focus for a new director, we'll get to dip our toes into some of that stuff. I,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think some of that
Fun.
would be great.
Final Fantasy 14 just announced their winners for the weapon design contest for weapons.
Nice.
And some of the submissions, both from all over the world, Japan they're so good, and they're coming to the game. And they even said some of these are so good, we're gonna use them anyway, but just not right away.
That's cool.
It's so cool. All the weapons look amazing.
That's super
Uh,
cool.
so hopefully, yeah. So hopefully, there's something like this, like in Lost Ark. Open it up. There are a lot of talented artists all over the world, and people have different sensibilities, which will be better for the game as a whole, instead of people looking all Koreanish is what I'm trying to say. Like, they have like their own style.
Yeah.
We want things to look different.
Yeah, that's fair.
Oh yeah,
Um,
more customization, I
I did
guess.
want to bring up too, as far as like new directors go, especially because you've had so much experience in Final Fantasy 14 for so many years. What do you think like a new director can take from not just the old director, but also from sort of Yoshi P being the other like sort of outspoken director for an MMO? Like, what would you like to see? I mean, is there anything that a director could do that you see Yoshi P do that you're like, man, if they do this like Yoshi P does, that would be great?
I mean, the obvious answer is live streams.
Yeah.
That's just like obvious. People love communication. We can ask them questions. They can show what they're planning, what they're doing, what coming into the game soon.
Yeah.
Just communication between, like, it just makes it more personal. Like they just help, like like he's speaking to you and tell you what's going on and they value your opinion. Like, instead of, like, I know WoW just did their recent the video, which is it was not great. I watched it
Mm.
because with other content stuff, because I watch people who do that type of thing. Their whole, I think live streams just add something different, because you're speaking like directly to them, one on, like, not one
Yeah,
on one,
you're
like
getting immediate
immediately.
feedback. Yeah, right.
Immediate access, yes,
Right.
yes. Instead of just watching a pre-planned video, stuff like that. It just
Yeah.
feels more connected.
Yeah, I think so too.
Um,
What is with Final Fantasy 14, you mentioned the Fan Fest, right? Is the
there's
Fan
FanFest.
Fest, does that take place in Japan or is there one that happens in the
No,
West?
they do it. Everything every year changes. They did one in Las Vegas. They did one
Gotcha.
in Germany. They did one
Oh,
in Japan. They did one in China, I think, once. They go all over the world. They just change it every year, so make more people can participate.
that's super cool. And I think maybe that could be another thing that maybe Smilegate could do is have that Loa on conference, maybe start to move it around a little bit. And I think making the players outside of the Western region feel like they are as important as the Korean players would be good. And I think that would be a good way to show that is to let other players come and meet some of the people who work, on the
Hmm.
product, and fly a new director out and have, a big conference or even like a mini conference in Europe
Yeah.
or have a mini conference in America or in South America, just give more and more players more access to these to the people in charge, I think that would go a long way too.
Yep, I agree. Live streams, obviously. He does a lot of letters as well to the community,
Mhm.
and the people love reading those. So that's an option.
I think that'd be a good
He he
idea too, because
he actually.
right now
He,
we get all of our communication through Amazon, and yeah, actually now that I'm thinking about that, would be another really great thing if just the whoever the new director is, if they specifically wrote to the Western audience. Yeah,
Mhm.
that would be awesome. I think that would be great.
He plays the game and he's really good at it. Yoshi P is
Yeah,
a great black mage and he does savages, he does all that stuff with the players. So he actually plays the game. So I don't
yeah,
know if
that's
the
important.
current directors play the game or not, or the current devs play the game, but
The current
that
director,
oh
the current director in Lost Ark, he definitely plays the game. He plays it very actively, which is
yeah,
good.
but
I
so
mean,
people
it's good to have the director of your game, like in Lost Ark and Final Fantasy, play the game, unlike a certain other MMO that a lot of people are familiar with, where they don't feel like anybody actually plays the game who works there. But
yeah.
we won't mention World of Warcraft or that whatever
Oh well,
MMO that is.
whatever that was.
Yeah, we won't mention
But
that
yeah,
one.
people recognize his character. People know the character's name, so that's always
Yeah,
super hype when he shows up on a server
yeah, for
and
sure,
plays with people.
for
That's
sure.
always a good thing. Just community interaction. I think just the whole thing, just community interaction.
So I was gonna
Pretty much
say
what it boils
though,
down to.
so while we're talking about sort of best case scenarios of like maybe roadmap and speaking English and stuff like that, what do you see potentially? And I don't want to spend too long on this, but what would
Yeah,
be
I
the
don't.
what would be the worst case scenario for a new director?
I don't know. People obviously more pay to win stuff. People who think bottom line matters only, and
Yeah.
they add more pay to win cash stuff like that is not ideal. uh, I think the current pay to win is not fine. It's workable.
hmm
Like if you pay, you don't get that far much ahead of everybody else, which is okay in my opinion. It's just
it's
fine.
more like pay to speed up than it is pay to win, in my opinion,
Yeah,
from what I've seen
pay
so
speed up a
far.
lot. Yeah,
It's like pay to
yeah,
speed up. My
yeah.
big fear is actually that the new director would, the way I look at it is I look at a company like Apple, and when Steve Jobs left Apple, well, when he passed away, I really
hmm
feel like Apple stopped innovating. And my fear is that if the current director is the one really pushing the vision of the game, my fear is a new director who would come in who would be too afraid to take chances and push things forward because of the backlash that will inevitably come for them not being the old director. You know what I mean?
hmm
And I don't want to see the game sort of fizzle as far as creativity and as far as sort of vision goes. I think that would kind of be the worst case in my opinion. Now, I think that is unlikely because there's so many people at Smilegate that work on the game and that are passionate about the game, and the ownership is still the same. So I don't think we're going to get more pay to win or anything like that. So I'm just hoping that the new director like really has a vision and a drive to kind of push the game forward.
I agree.
That's my
Yeah,
hope.
that's a good take.
Okay, one other thing here that the director did say that I wanted to bring up in that same sort of live stream where he announced his retirement is he also addressed DPS meters. Now, the DPS meter has been sort of a hot topic, especially in the West, because the director has said before the Western client came out, no to DPS meters. And then the game came out in our version, and people brought up the DPS meter issue again and even started creating add-ons actually. And
Yeah,
he
you can get DPS speeders through ACT now. I think it released a couple of days ago.
Yeah, the director came out and basically said, absolutely not. The bad outweighs the good for DPS meters. If you're found using them, we will ban you. I mean, he was very direct about it. He was very stern, and he said DPS meters will never be in Lost Ark. What are your thoughts on that, Kioma?
I think so. I like DPS meters personally. I understand where they're coming from though, because people always use DPS meters to attack other
It's true.
players. That's the main reason people don't like DPS
It's true.
meters. And in 14, it's always been he's even said DPS meters are fine. Not fine. He can't say fine. He says we can't find them on your computer. So if you use them just don't talk about them or don't say anything. Use it to discourage to be toxic to other players.
Yeah.
So that's my take on it. I agree with that. Just you can use them if you want. Just don't be an ass about them.
Well,
Don't
isn't
use them to.
the Final Fantasy didn't Yoshi P come out and say they're going to ban players for using third-party add-ons now?
He said the same thing he always says, but now they're starting to enforce it because
Oh, got it.
games
Okay.
gotten super popular,
Yeah.
and they only ban it if you do it on stream. If
Interesting.
you use
Okay.
it yourself, you're fine.
Interesting.
You can use any add-ons you want as long as you don't advertise it or show it on stream. You're good. And only like so far to my point, only 2 streamers have been banned for it,
Hmm.
and they just because they were mass reported by trolls on 4chan.
Oh.
Um, as like I said, as long, you can use it as long as you don't advertise it and you don't use it to. And he always says, don't use it to insult or be toxic to other players, and you're good.
Yeah.
Because you will get instantly reported and jailed if you say someone's EPS was trash or something like that.
Gotcha.
Stuff like so. Yeah.
The way I'm looking at
So
it,
I agree with that take. So I agree with that.
what I'd like to see in Lost Ark is for them to at least have a self DPS meter. Like, I don't need to even know what the other players in the raids necessarily are doing. And I think like they've said before, maybe that leads to more toxicity than it does any positivity. But I really do want to see how I am doing myself. I want to know if I switch engravings, am I doing more damage or less damage? If I switch tripods, am I doing more damage or less damage? If I switch gems around, if I switch card sets, like, I do want to see how I am doing myself. And I would really like to see at least a solo meter of some kind to let me know how I'm doing between pulls and what I could be doing differently to sort of like maximize my performance.
I think that's a slippery slope, but that's why there are third-party add-ons that do that for you. So I think that's just a good compromise. I don't think they can't like ban they can't well they have anti-cheat, so I'm not sure how they're gonna do it. So I'm not sure if they can detect it or not. So that's my worry. That's
Yeah,
why
I
I'm
mean,
not using it because I'm gonna have an anti-cheat, which I don't like,
I agree. It's
which that
like
makes sense.
I don't
So
want to
yeah,
risk compromising my account, so I'm not going to
you're
have
right.
any third-party add-ons as long as they're taking such a firm stance on it. But that's why I'd like to see it just as part of, like, maybe the game's UI is just has some sort of, excuse me, some sort of meter so that I could see my performance. But I understand their perspective. I do agree that it probably is overly toxic. Especially too, like, after doing the Valtan raid, like, damage matters certainly, but performance matters more. Like, staying alive is more important.
Yeah,
And
and people usually only look at damage for to see how good a person
yeah,
is.
and
Usually,
and
that's all.
the damage checks up to this point have not gotten to the point where I feel like we need to be like, okay, I need to look at everybody's damage and see who's not cutting it because we're not making our DPS checks. Like, we haven't run
It
into that
would
yet.
it would make groups harder to get to for harder to join into for some classes as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
For sure. It
So
does
yeah,
make it easier on the devs as far as balancing goes, as long as they can
yeah.
obfuscate that DPS data even just a little bit. Because then they can just go like, hey, we're making adjustments based on our internal data instead of what players are seeing on their DPS meters.
Hmm.
So, okay. All right. To close this thing out here, I just wanted to mention one more thing before we go. And that is sort of something that I've mentioned in the past, but I want to bring up one more time. Why is the rapport system the worst thing in this entire game? I want to throw my computer out the window. What the hell, man?
They gotta time gate it somehow, or else people
Bro,
just
I'm
blow through it.
sitting
I
here.
guess.
I've got like all of the adventure tomes done for like 8 or 9 different regions here, and I can't complete my adventure tomes. Like 5 of them are ready to go for everything except rapport. And the only thing that I can do to get more rapport is to have lost merchants up on my second
Yeah,
monitor and every hour to sit there and teleport all around the world trying to collect all the rapport items. Holy crap, what an absolutely insane system. Like, all of the other collectibles I feel like are pretty fair. Some of them are a lot of work, some require Una dailies, to get all
yeah,
the way done and stuff, but it feels fair. Rapport feels so bad. I hate it.
I agree. I stopped using Lost Martians after I finished area, so I'm like, I don't want to wait, and then sometimes even legendary merchants won't even sell. Legendary report items aren't up for sale.
I
So you're
know.
like, I just wasted an hour collecting this and then coming back, and then you have to log in whenever that happens, and or you miss. It's like a 15-minute, 20-minute window as well, and
I
it's
hate
just
it.
there's better. Yeah, it's the worst, but
I hate it. And
uh,
it brings us back to real quick. One of the other problems with the crazy botting on US West is if you have lost merchants up and you've closed the game and you see, oh look, there's 3 different merchants are selling legendary items. Awesome. Let me hop in real quick and buy those. Nope. You're sitting in a 2-hour queue and you've missed them.
yep.
I hate it. I hate the rapport system. I want to abolish it. I want to get rid of it, replace it with anything else. It's the worst thing. All right,
Yeah,
I just had to say
just
that one
gotta.
more time because I cannot stand it. And
Okay.
the last thing that's really stupid is the Yorn. I don't know if you've done the Yorn Adventure Tome, but one of the food items for Yorn is an RNG drop from an Una task. It's the stupidest thing in the whole world. So you can be
I have
just there,
no.
there's no amount of farming anything can get you there because you're gated by the daily to get hopefully a drop for the meat in it. It's so stupid, dude.
Okay. Yeah, it is
So
what it is.
anyway,
Okay.
those are my 2 complaints at the very end here.
All right.
Is there anything else that you wanted to hit that we missed in this podcast here before we wrap it up?
Just one thing I want to highlight: their best quality of life feature is the selling. There's an option in the auction house. You go to register your item, you put on whatever you want to sell, and there's a search button, and it filters everything for you, so you can see the
Oh,
comparable prices to what is already on the board,
oh,
which is
that's
one of the best things
so cool.
ever, ever.
Previously you could only see sales that had occurred. So now you're saying you can
Hmm.
compare with listing items. Is that right?
Listing, I currently listed items
Oh,
with
that's
this
cool.
with the comparable with the same stats and same substats and same engraving effects
That's
immediately.
awesome.
You don't have to do the stupid thing
That's
where they like
fantastic.
put all the filters.
Cool.
That's my favorite quality of life. But yeah, but I'm good. Yeah,
Good.
everything for.
Well, I'm optimistic for the future of the game. I gotta say, like the Valtan patch really delivered for me, and it makes me just so excited for whenever Vicus gets released. I can't wait. I can't wait for more Legion raids. I think the game is headed in a healthy direction, and I'm hopeful that whatever new director shows up in Korea, I hope he just continues the game forward in a positive direction.
I agree. Can't wait for that. Hopefully, I finish my hard mode before the weekly reset. It
Yeah.
might not happen, but I don't even if I don't get it, I don't feel like I'm super behind.
You won't
So
be
I'm okay.
because you can't build your relic set until you get items from the Vicus raid as well.
Yeah.
So we're
Hmm.
time gated by when that gets released anyway.
Yeah.
So there's not actually a huge rush, but
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I hope that you get it because it's pretty fun.
Yeah.
All right, where can people find you?
I am on twitch.tv/coryu87. I want to stream more. I will stream more. I just gotten around to it. I do stream other games as well, and I'm trying. I think I'm gonna start streaming the Ultimate Raid soon as
I was
well
gonna
for
say
Final Fantasy 14.
I was hoping that you were gonna do that. There's a couple times where I've seen you on Discord playing Final Fantasy, and then I open up your stream and you're not streaming. I think you should, man. I'll definitely stop in and check it out too, because I've heard good things about that raid.
One thing that stopped me from because I don't like push to talk, which I'll have to do.
Oh yeah,
Um,
that's fair.
which is I'll get used to it, but yeah, I want to
Yeah,
start streaming those because those are fun. You can watch us suffer.
cool.
It's fun, right?
So
But yeah,
Kioma streams some War of the Visions, which we've talked about a little bit before, and then yeah, hopefully stream a little Final Fantasy 14 and some Lost Ark too. Cool. I stream over there at Twitch at Cyrus the Great 99. I'm going to be updating my streaming schedule a little bit. It'll probably be a little later, so I'm going to be doing some late night streams probably on the weekdays here moving forward. I'll try and get a set schedule, and maybe we can maybe like I'll try and announce that schedule or release that schedule on the next podcast too as well. But that's where you can find me. And then as always, you can find Lost Arguments wherever podcasts are available, and then also at YouTube. Just type in Lost Arguments, and it's like the first thing that pops up. So catch us there, and yeah, I think that's about it. We'll see you all next time. Thanks for checking us out.
thanks
Thanks
for
for joining me,
watching.
Kioma. Cool. All right,
Thanks.
everybody.
All right.
See you next
Bye.
time. Bye bye.